Welcome to episode 158 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Odysseus and the story of Odysseus Alone with Telemachus and Penelope. Only Odysseus and Telemachus remained. "Quick, let us put away the weapons," the father said to his son. Telemachus called Euryclea, the old nurse, and said, "Keep the girls inside until I have taken my father's weapons away from all this smoke and soot." "It's a good thing, my child," answered Euryclea, "that you are concerned for what is yours. But who shall carry the torch to light your way if you do not take one of the girls?" "That stranger over there," said Telemachus. "Whoever eats of my bread shall do me some service." And now father and son carried helmets, shields, and lances to a storeroom. Before them went Athene, a golden lamp in her hand to spread light on their way. "This is a great marvel," Telemachus whispered to his father. "How the walls of the palace shimmer! Every beam, every pine post, every pillar, everything glows like fire. A god must be with us, one of the immortals from Olympus." "Silence, my son," said Odysseus, "and do not probe into these things. The gods forbid mortals to pry into their doings. Go to bed now. I myself shall stay up a little longer and try your mother and the handmaids." Telemachus left, and now Penelope came into the hall, beautiful as Artemis or Aphrodite, her own chair inlaid with silver and ivory, and spread with a thick fleece which was placed at the hearth for her, and she seated herself on it. Servants cleared the food and cups from the table, set these to one side, and then tended the fire, and saw to the lighting of the room. And now Melantho mocked Odysseus a second time. "Stranger," she said, "surely you are not going to spend the night here and spy upon the palace. Let what you have had be enough for you, and get out of the door this instant unless you want a firebrand to fly at your head." Odysseus scowled at her and replied, "You are hard to understand. Are you so hostile towards me because I am in rags and beg for my food? Is not the common fate of those who wander homeless over the earth? Once I was happy. I lived in a fine house, had ample stores, and gave wandering strangers whatever they needed, regardless of how they looked. And I had servants and handmaids in plenty too. But all this Zeus has taken from me. Remember, girl, that like a fate may overtake you. What if the queen became seriously angry with you, or if Odysseus returned? There is still hope of that. Or if Telemachus, who is no longer a child, punished you in his stead." Penelope heard the beggar's words and scolded the arrogant girl. "Shameless creature," she said. "I know your base soul, and I know what you are up to, but I shall make you sorry for what you have done. Did you not hear me say that I wish to honor this stranger, that I want to ask him about my husband? And do you yet dare jeer at him?" Melantho was abashed and crept from the hall. Your enemy, the old housekeeper, placed a chair for the beggar, and Penelope began to question him. "First, tell me your name and who your parents are," she said to Odysseus. "Queen," he replied, "you are wise and virtuous woman, and the glory of your husband is great. Your people and your country are also well spoken of in the world. As for me, ask me whatever you like, but not my lineage or my native land. I have suffered too greatly and cannot bear to be reminded of my home. If I were to tell you everything I had been through, I should break into loud and long lament, and then your handmaids and even you yourself might reprove me, and with good reason." At this, Penelope said, "I, too, have much to endure since my husband left Ithaca. You saw the great number of men who are courting me against my will. For 3 years I evaded them through a ruse which I have had to give up." And she told him about the web and how her own handmaids had betrayed her. "And now," she concluded, "I can no longer put off taking a second husband. My parents are urging me, and my son is angry because his inheritance is being wasted. You see the trouble I am in, so you need not keep secret who you are. You were, after all, not born from a fabled oak or rock." "Since you insist, I shall tell you," said Odysseus, and he began his old tale about Crete. It sounded so like the truth that Penelope wept with compassion, and Odysseus was filled with pity for her. But he restrained his tears, and his eyes stood fixed between his lids. They were horn or iron, and revealed nothing of what he felt. When the queen had wept her fill, she spoke again. "I must test you, stranger," she said, "to see if what you say is really true, if you really entertained my husband as a guest in your house. Tell me how he looked and who was with him." "That is difficult to remember after so long a time," said Odysseus. "It is almost 20 years ago that your husband landed in Crete. But I seem to recall that he wore a mantle of crimson wool fastened with a double clasp of gold embossed with a dog holding a writhing fawn in his forepaws. A tunic of fine white linen showed under the mantle. With him was a herald, a round-shouldered fellow by the name of Euryclea, and he had curly hair and dark skin." Penelope wept anew because in her mind's eye she saw everything the beggar had mentioned. Odysseus comforted her with a fresh tale in which he blended imaginary adventures with the truth, such as his landing on Thrinacia and his stay in the land of the Phaeacians. The beggar pretended to know all about the king of the Thesprotians, who had been host to Odysseus just before he had gone to consult the oracle of Dodona. There he had left great treasure for safekeeping. The beggar claimed to have seen it with his own eyes, and thought there was no doubt whatsoever that the king of Ithaca would soon return to his country. But all this could not convince Penelope. "I do not believe that will ever be," she said, bowing her head. She was about to bid her handmaids wash the stranger's feet and prepare a comfortable couch for him, but rather than accept the services of those faithless girls, Odysseus asked for a pallet of straw. "Unless," he added, "you have some good and faithful old woman who has suffered as much as I, let her wash my feet." "Come, Euryclea," Penelope cried. "It was you who brought up Odysseus. Now wash the feet of this man, who must be just as old as your master." Euryclea looked at the beggar and said, "Perhaps Odysseus has just such hands and feet, for when people suffer, they age before their time." And as she spoke, the old woman was choked with tears. Now, when she approached to wash the stranger's feet, she looked at him more closely and said, "Many men have visited this house, but never have I seen one who resembled Odysseus as you do. You have his stature, his legs, and his voice." "Yes, that is what everyone who has seen both of us says," Odysseus replied carelessly, while she mixed hot and cold water in a basin. But when she had completed her preparations, he moved out of the light, for he did not want her to see the scar above his right knee, where a boar had thrust his tusk into the flesh long ago, when he had hunted as a youth. He feared that the moment Euryclea noticed it, she would recognize him. But though his legs were in shadow, she knew the scar when her palm touched it, and in the first shock of joy let his foot slip from her hand and into the basin, so that the metal rang with the water splashed over the rim. Her breath faltered, and her eyes filled with tears. Trembling, she touched his knee. "Odysseus, dear child, it is you!" Her eyes filled with trembling, she touched his knee. "Odysseus, dear child, it is you," she cried. "I have felt that scar." But out shot Odysseus' right hand and caught her by the throat, and with his left he drew her toward him. "Do you want to destroy me?" he whispered. "What you say is true, but no one in the palace must know. If you do not keep silent, you shall share the fates of those worthless girls." "No need to threaten me," said Euryclea softly, when he had released her throat. My heart is firm as rock and iron, but beware of the other handmaids in this palace. I shall tell you the names of all who have no respect for you." "You do not have to do that," said Odysseus. "I already know who they are." When Euryclea had washed and anointed his feet, Penelope began to speak. She had not noticed what had passed between them, for Athene had turned her thoughts elsewhere. "My heart sways to and fro in doubt, stranger," she said pensively. "Shall I remain with my son and administer the palace for my husband, who may still be alive, or shall I marry the noblest among my suitors, him who offers the most splendid bridal gifts? While Telemachus was still a child, I refused to marry. Now that he is a youth, he himself wishes me to go from here, for he fears that his possessions will be utterly wasted. And I have had a dream. Perhaps you, who seem so wise, can explain it to me. I have 20 geese, and I like to watch them eat their grain. Well, I dreamed that an eagle came flying down from the mountains and broke the necks of all my geese. They lay dead, scattered around on the ground, and the bird flew off through the air. I began to sob aloud, but the dream went on. I thought I saw a woman coming from the city to comfort me in my grief, and suddenly the eagle came too, perched on the sill, and began to speak to me in a human voice. 'Be of good courage, daughter of Icarus,' he said. 'This is no dream, it is a vision. The suitors are the geese, and I, the eagle, am Odysseus, returned to put an end to them.' That is what the bird said, and then I awoke. I immediately went to look after my geese, and they were feeding quietly at the trough." "Queen," the beggar replied, "in your dream Odysseus himself has told you what will come to pass. The vision can have no other meaning. He will come, and not a suitor will remain alive." But Penelope sighed and said, "Dreams are like ripples on the water. But tomorrow is the dreaded day on which I am to leave my husband's house. I shall arrange a contest for the men who court me. Odysseus sometimes used to set up 12 axes, one behind the other. Then he would step back and shoot an arrow through the holes of all 12 of them. Now, what I have decided is this. I shall marry the suitor who can accomplish this feat with Odysseus's bow." "That is right," said Odysseus in a firm voice. "Do not fail to arrange the contest tomorrow, for Odysseus will come before the suitors can bend the bow and shoot the arrow through the hole of the axes." And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.